Hello everyone, and as you've just seen, I have made my own version of Tyranth's saw axe. Now, Tyranth decided to go with a sort of hand-and-a-half style, and while I understand his choice, and I understand why he has two heads on it in order to maximize hitting capability, effectively giving us a little bigger blade, I somewhat disagree with this mode. If you're making an axe, in my opinion, it is best to go for a two-handed one. One-handed ones have their purpose, but the one that big just seemed kind of clunky to me. I also haven't held it, so maybe it wasn't as bad as it looked, but it didn't seem great to me. So I went, and I found myself a 5-foot-long pole, so it's a 60-inch pole. I think it's supposed to be like a shovel handle. It's fine, so it's completely round, which isn't great. And then I simply mounted a framing and ripping saw on this. Now, a framing and ripping saw, I will bring this up to you so you guys can take a nice look at it. As you can see here, it has these chunks in it on the edge of the blade. Now, the thing itself is not actually that sharp, frankly. It's just got a lot of points here on the edge, as it will dig into the wood and, as the name suggests, rip. I have a plywood saw as an alternative, but I do want to test this. So if that doesn't work, I will simply go swap them out, because it's just held on by a bolt. That's it. It's a bolt and some washers. So, I got my favorite target, a milk jug. I am going to hit the milk jug with the axe, and we're going to find out what happens. I have more targets later, but if this doesn't work, I'm going to go swap it out for a plywood saw. I have a feeling saw heads are going to be a big defining factor of how effective this weapon is, less so than anything else, considering that's the blade. So I'm curious how well this digs into this. So let's stop wasting time. All right. I have water on my glasses. So, as you can hopefully tell here, there we go, that's better. As you can see here, it is tearing. Now, the rest of this is reasonably straight and flat, but you can see there's these little, well, maybe you can't see, but there's these little bits. Here, there we go. You can kind of see. There are these little chunks as I ripped through it that have me somewhat concerned for other targets. Speaking of other targets, let me pan the camera somewhat over. We have Jack the Scarecrow. Now, let me move this real quick. Inside of Jack the Scarecrow is a milk jug and a bunch of straw. Because it's one thing for this to just cut bare. I mean, that is effectively me taking this and going right into skin. Now, obviously, this is going to tear. It's got small points on it. I'm swinging with a fair amount of force. Obviously, it's going to rip. However, will a cheap sweatshirt from Walmart and some straw stop it? And stop me from getting into the jug on the inside? That's my actual question, and that's my biggest concern with the saw axe. And that is any amount of cloth, or in this case pleather, will stop it from actually biting into the target, and it will just get stuck. So the only way, of course, to test this is to do it. So, as I said, inside of here there is a milk jug. It's about here in the center. Yep. All right. Okay. So I hit it. Let me bring you over here. Okay, so, as you can see here, it went right through, no problem, didn't really get stuck. I pierced here, which you can't really tell, but I just hit the handle on the milk jug. I'll bring it up a little. You can kind of see it right there. I hope you can. I can't see the camera at the moment. So right here, I just hit the handle. So that leaking water is not quite as great as it seems, and it wasn't a great hit. So I'm going to kind of want to hit... Let me shuffle this over a little bit so I can get a better hit here. So I'm kind of aiming for the middle of the chest, which, let's be real, is kind of an awkward target. But I think it's fair. I mean, logically with an axe, you're going to be kind of aiming for up here, over here. Going to be going for like a rib shot or a rib shot. Actually, you know what? Let's go for that. I'm curious if I can drive this in deep enough to hit the bottom of that jug. Because it's sitting right here. The bottom of the jug is like right there. So there's a whole lot of just stuff in between the axe and that. So let's go for it. To heck with it. Why not? Woo! Almost knocked my target over. Come on, stop wiggling. Come on. Alright, so that didn't... Oh boy. One sec, let me straighten my target out. Okay, so I swung in and I can't quite find where I hit. I don't think I hit very well. So I didn't really seem to dig into it, and part of that is, of course, I moved this, but don't worry, I pound that farther into the dirt. So now we're just going to go for a swing into the gut, and we're going to see how well that goes. Okay. That was better. And as you can see, the teeth have dug in. So that's interesting, actually. All right, bring you back over here. We're going to take a proper look at this. Okay. So, you can see the most recent hit was right here. And I got in there and I hit the jug. And all of the jug has lost all of its water. That's, woo! Ooh, that's nasty. That's way nastier than I thought. That's interesting. Now that's just tearing, obviously. That's kind of the interesting part here. I'm just tearing the jug. Because, let's get this out of the way here. Go away. Okay. Because, it should be obvious, but there's not really... I pierced this, but right here, I didn't do anything. There's like some small holes. Now, the interesting point about this is, I drove in there, and these aren't going in very deep, but that is going to hurt quite a bit. And the cloth's not actually catching, so I'll say that much at least. It's not getting stuck. But I'm going to swing at this a few more times and just kind of get a vibe for how this is going. I don't think I'll bring you guys back over unless something absolutely crazy happens, but we'll just hit this a couple of more times and then I'll do my conclusions. Alright, Jugless Scarecrow beat him up. Oh, that's a better one. That's a decent tear. Overall, the sweatshirt is holding up remarkably well to me whaling on it. Which, I suppose I shouldn't be shocked by. But, well, this blade is starting to spin. I guess I'm whaling on it too hard. That's the problem. You're going to have to deal with this too. This thing will pivot. There's not a whole lot you can do about that, other than make sure she's ratcheted tight on there. So final thoughts on the saw axe. I do kind of think the two-handed version is better than the one-handed version, just because it lets you drive it in there harder, and then you're using the thin profile of the blade. And, I mean, it's not sharp, but I am taking a flat, thin edge, and I am driving it into the target as hard as I possibly can, which will cause more damage. This is honestly more blunt force trauma than it is actually pointy. Like, it's pointy enough to kind of get in there, and I'm not catching... I mean, I'm catching on the sweatshirt, which is a bit of a problem. But if you're slamming into a person, something with a little more weight that's not held up by a, you know, by a pole, you're gonna hit them, and they're probably going to fall over from that hit. I would be curious to find a way to test that. But I can't, like, just put a mannequin up and have it fall over. It doesn't have a center of balance or a way to catch itself. So that's a thing to look into later. Maybe some sort of bungee cord system or something to see if I can, you know, knock something far enough over that it just falls. I don't know. I'd be curious what I could rig up for that. But all in all, this seems fine for the amount of effort I put into this, which was literally get a drill hole in stick, find bolt and some washers, and then attach saw blade. Like, 5 minutes. It took me longer to shop for this stuff than it did for me to actually make it. Granted, I had a drill press, so I am somewhat cheating on that front. If you only have a hand drill, it's going to be a little harder because you got to find a vise or something. But the point is it's not hard. You could do this by hand, like a literal hand drill. All right? Like, you don't need anything fancy to make this work. And I think that's why I like this conceptually. I think, honestly, a lot of Apocalypse movies get a little too fancy with this. I think just stick with saw blade is fine. Because you have added some weight to the end of the stick. Like, it's not a lot. This is very light. This is exceedingly light. I've added enough weight that it's noticeable. So when I swing, it's going to actually have some oomph behind her. And it's thin, so I am focusing the force on a small edge. And it does have these little bits, and since this is a framing and ripping saw, it is meant to take a beating. I mean, it's probably why these points are reinforced. I don't actually know. If anyone knows about how framing and ripping saws actually function mechanically, that'd be fascinating to put in the comments. Thank you very much. But this works fine as sort of like a goofy mace, almost. I mean, it's not mind-blowing or anything, but it wasn't too bad. I didn't feel like I was getting too stuck on stuff. But I'm not certain. I feel like more testing is in order. I might find some more exotic targets and give this a shot. What do you guys think, though? Do you think I got this right? Do you think Tyranth got this right? Which do you think we're both wrong, and this is kind of a dumb weapon in general, and we should probably just find something else? What do you guys think? Remember to leave a comment below, like, share, subscribe, all the wonderful stuff. And I'll see you guys all next time.